My name is John Crichton.
My name is John Crichton. My name is John Crichton. Look upward and share the wonders I've seen.
Undo me.
Can I trust you?
No.
At least you're honest.
Hello, and welcome to Episode 8 of the ScapeCast, your guide to the wonders of Farscape. I'm your co-host, Lindy Ray.
And I'm Kevin Batchelder. On this episode of the ScapeCast, we will have
a segment about John Crichton and Arthur Dent,
an article on our junior Miss Tough Chick of the Universe.
We'll have our regular features of trivia, news, and the question of the week.
And we also have a treat for you. We have our very first crew chat, where you get a chance to hear many of our crew members casually talking. That'll be coming up later in the show.
This show's spoiler level is
Season 3.
Now, normally, Kevin, this would be the place in the previous ScapeCast where we would discuss your progress. But being the little spoiled brat that you are that needs all that instant gratification, you did not wait the 18 months like we had to wait to see PK Wars, but instead I know that you have some other good news for us. So I'll let you start with that.
Yes, it's actually some excellent news, Lindy. The ScapeCast has been named as one of the 5 finalists for an award for our podcast. It's a brand new set of awards that are known as the Parsec Awards. And the ScapeCast has been selected as one of the finalists in the Best Fan Podcast category.
And that is so cool. And normally we would beg you all to go out and vote for us, but this is a judged award, so there's going to be a panel of judges who decides this. And we don't know exactly who they are yet, so we don't know who we have to bribe. But we hope to have that information soon.
Yeah, these awards are going to be held at Dragon Con coming up Labor Day weekend this year, dealing with excellence in sci-fi and original fantasy content. So it'll be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that.
And we get to say that phrase, the one that's, "It's an honor just to be nominated."
Yep, myself and our other crew member Kurt are both planning to be there, so we'll both be there with our fingers crossed, hoping that we get a chance to win that. But it was just really great, even as corny as it sounds, to be selected as one of the finalists, especially since we're, as we all know, kind of new at this. We've only had a few shows out, so it's great to see other folks appreciating what we're doing there. One of the other cool things I noticed just before we started to record, Lindy, I took a look again. As you know, every now and then I bring up our Frapper map with our different listeners, and folks are adding themselves there, and we have a new country chiming in.
Uh-oh.
Want to take a guess on where it is?
China?
No, we haven't got that far yet, but we did get a new listener showing in Belgium.
Belgium.
So the ScapeCast is working its way around the globe, and that's very cool to see. We really are glad to see we've got our international listeners as well as many folks here in the States.
So if you're from Belgium, are you a Belgiumese? I don't know. Well, whoever you are out in Belgium, welcome to our Frapper.
Outside of my area of expertise.
Okay. Well, whoever you are there in Belgium, please send chocolate.
And now we're going to have a very special episode of Trelk Talk for you.
And now, Pigs in Space!
We join our crew, Captain Kurt, Hogthrob, and Dr. Spam as they perform some routine maintenance aboard Moya.
Captain Kurt, we need to open the Hammond side portal.
Hammond? I don't see him anywhere. When did he get aboard, Ernestine?
No, sir, not General Hammond. Hammond is the starboard side of Moya.
Starboard. Starboard? Right. Which side is starboard?
That is correct. As you face towards Moya's bow, Hammond is to your right.
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 So what happens if we turn around?
Then Hammond's to your left.
I thought you said he didn't get aboard.
No, sir, he didn't. Hammond is to your left when you face Moya's stern.
I thought you said Hammond was to my right. And don't get stern with me, Doctor.
Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir. Moi means that it is the port side, sir.
Port side?
No, port side. If you turn to face Moya's bow, the Treblin side will be on your left.
Treblin side? What's that?
That's the port side, sir.
But I thought the port side was on my right.
No, Hammond.
But that's left now.
Yes, no. To your right is Treblin.
Treblin to my right. So, if I've got this straight, when I face the front, Treblin is on my left.
Bow, sir.
Why should I bow? I'm the captain. You should bow to me.
No, sir, the bow is in the front. Treblin is on the left when you face it.
Right.
No, sir, that's Hammond. Hammond is on the right when you face the bow. I need a drink.
So do I. Something strong.
Do we have any port on board?
I thought it was, but it was to my left, and now you tell me it's to my right, and now I just don't know.
Look, Hammond! Hammond is to your right!
But you said he wasn't on board.
Hi-ya!
Oh.
Join us next time when we hear Dr. Spam say,
Gotta find a good place to hide the body!
Pigs in Space!
Well, I don't know about you folks, but I hope you weren't drinking anything while you were listening to that, because when I did, I sure as heck almost started losing it. That was a good one there. But, so, I need to know, though, Lindy, what do pigs in space have to do with Trout Talk?
Well, John Crichton's in space. Farscape's in space.
Well, yeah, but I thought we were trying to learn words here. You know, I'm looking to learn all the time.
Well, there were 2 words in that one. Hammond and Treblin. You know, I think Ernestine did an excellent job explaining those.
Well, I think that was enough. I certainly got enough information there.
It's time for your Farscape trivia question. Chiana is a Nabari. You know, the gray-skinned people. Here's your question. How many Nabari, including Chiana, do we see on screen in Farscape? Yes, that's including Peacekeeper Wars. Stay tuned for the answer. For the ScapeCast, I'm Brent Berry.
Boy, Brent, that was sure an easy trivia question. I think I might even know the answer. How about you, Kev?
Yeah, normally I don't have a shot at many of these questions, but for a change, I actually do on that one, so I'm going to have to wait and find out here when we hear the answer at the end. And I'm not going to give it up, just in case I don't quite have it.
Attention! There are opportunities all around you. Opportunities to help spread the Scaper word around the world. The ScapeCast Beacon, a call to all Scapers to mobilize. There is unofficial word from folks within creation that this may be the last year of the Farscape convention if ticket sales are low. If you've been considering going, please keep this in mind and spread the word. Terra Firma is asking its members to vote on any Terra Firma merchandise they may want to see offered by the popular Farscape message board. Drop by and offer your input. Sci-Fi Portal is holding their annual genre awards. All fans are encouraged to vote at their website. Ben Browder and Claudia Black are both up for awards. Check our show notes for more information. This has been the ScapeCast Beacon, a call to all Scapers to mobilize.
Okay, I wanted to say thank you for the amazing job you guys have done of putting together this podcast for the fans of Farscape. It's an amazing piece of work considering the fact that Rockne O'Banion, whom I'm a huge fan of, and the Henson family have come together to make such an amazing piece of work. It's very hard in modern times to find a show, a fantasy show or a science fiction show that's worthy of watching, and the quality keeps going down every day. It's nice to see something like Farscape, and it's nice to know that the fans are out there doing stuff for the rest of us. So keep up the good work, you guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for those kind words, Jessica. Hey folks, if you want to leave a message to us like Jessica just did, go ahead and click on the Talk to Us Now button on our website. All you need is a microphone.
So, Kevin, I hope that you brought your towel because our first segment is called The Whole General Uncharted Mishmash by Kelly Morris.
John Crichton always had problems adjusting. He could do it, but he was never very happy about it. For example,
I am not Kirk, Spock, Luke, Buck, Flash, or Arthur Frellington.
Really? Few would argue that Crichton is Kirk, Spock, or Luke, or even the 1980 Flash, but thinks he's not Arthur Dent? Is he right? Arthur Dent, for those who somehow don't know, is the protagonist of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, a radio play / text adventure game / novel trilogy / TV series / film. The guide is the creation of Douglas Adams and is undoubtedly one of the most influential sci-fi works of the past 30 years, if not of all time. Adams flew right past doing sci-fi with jokes, or sci-fi as funny camp, and created a sci-fi comedy where the jokes occur on every level, from the smallest personal interaction to the largest guiding principles of the universe. It's not all fun and games, though. Like all great sci-fi, Adams used the guide to ask the big questions. Who are we? Where are we going? Is it anywhere nice? And what, in the end, is our place in this universe? In the guide, Arthur Dent, Earthman, is unceremoniously yanked from the Earth seconds before it's demolished to make way for an interstellar bypass. Thrust into the galaxy at large, Arthur finds himself lost and confused on a spaceship with few friends and plenty of problems. So there are superficial similarities between John and Arthur, but also with Buck and Flash. Do the similarities between Arthur and John run deeper? Or is John right? We'll be examining these questions in 3 parts, using the novels in the Hitchhiker's trilogy, which incidentally number 5, as our source. First things first. If we're going to understand any man, we must first understand his universe, futile and pointless though our efforts may be.
Space, says the introduction to the Hitchhiker's Guide, is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. And so on.
Well, obviously. Space is infinite, no matter what series you're watching. Big deal, right? That just means there's more room to move about? We know that quantum mechanics says we can never say something will never happen. We can only say something is so improbable we are unlikely to ever see it happen. You could push against a solid wall and pass right through it as though it weren't there, but the odds are so high against that, you'd have to try forever. But there's still a chance, and no matter how big the chances against are, infinity is always way bigger. So, if there's infinite space, then somewhere that chance comes up. In fact, that chance comes up a lot. The universe is just too vast for impossibility.
This will all end in tears, I just know it.
That's a lot of setup. But it sets up an important point. Illogical things happen, all the time. The universe makes no sense. It's absurd. Absurdity is the guiding principle of the universe in the Guide and Farscape. In both, the universe is an absurd, nonsensical, illogical, incomprehensible place where things happen for no apparent reason, with no apparent order, and no apparent design. And you'd better accept that, because there's only one alternative.
No, this isn't happening because it's not possible.
Your brain isn't functioning. Do you think this is all just a hallucination? Do you like that explanation better?
The Guide went further and zanier with the idea. Each page bursts with absurd goings-on. A wormhole dumps fried eggs and accountants into the void. One party can last generations. A planet evolves sentient mattresses. Farscape's universe isn't that absurd, but it was full of the confounding as well. A race evolves that farts helium. 2 ships in the same wormhole can share the same space at the same time. Minds can switch bodies. It may not be as silly, but it makes as little sense. Could the universe be understood? Sure, but who has the time? There are Frogstar and Shayang attacks to be dealt with first. This is another trait both universes share. They are so big and vast, really, what do the concerns of one little individual matter? The universe doesn't care about your plans. In the Guide, Trillian describes life as being like a shopping cart that never goes where you want it, forcing you to buy ingredients for a recipe you never intended to cook and may not even have. Crichton puts it a little more succinctly.
Since when do people like us get what we want?
If you're expecting the universe to care about you and protect you, you are in for a nasty surprise. In an absurd universe, life is absurdly cheap. The Guide plays this for laughs.
And your planet is one of those scheduled for demolition. There's no point acting all surprised about it. The plans and demolition orders have been on display at a local planning office in Alpha Centauri for 50 of your Earth years. If you can't be bothered to take an interest in local affairs, then you don't look out. A pathetic bloody planet of no sympathy at all.
Farscape does not.
You killed him.
You can be next.
Luckily for us, we're not just the victims of the universe's chaos. Remember how space is really big?
It also says that if you hold a lung full of air, you can survive in the total vacuum of space for about 30 seconds. But with space being really big and all, the chances of being picked up within that time are 2 to the power of 2,079,460,347 to 1 against. Which, by a staggering coincidence, is also the telephone number of the Islington flat where Arthur went to a fancy dress party and met a very nice young woman whom he totally blew it with. Though the planet Earth, the Islington flat, and telephone have all now been demolished, Ford and Arthur were in fact rescued.
Coincidence and serendipity rule the Guide. Everything that happens is some staggering coincidence. Is Farscape any less coincidental? Think for a moment. Crichton just happens to open a wormhole, which just happens to lead him to a prison ship, which just happens to be escaping at that exact moment. Instead of a shipload of rapists, mass murderers, and psychopaths, he finds a political prisoner, a revolutionary, and a frame man, and he, also, of all the peacekeepers around, just so happens to meet one who is a woman, and has had not one, but 2 profound experiences with love, and being told she's special. Just how small are the odds of 2 bodies meeting in the vastness of space? It's tempting to call this fate. It's natural for sentient minds to see patterns. But in the end, fate is a human creation, and we'll be discussing how the notion of fate works in the universe in Part 2. Blind luck is the universe's way. At least sometimes it works for us. Clearly, even if they aren't each other, Arthur and John are in very similar universes, ruled by very similar concepts. They're bizarre, confounding places where anything can happen. But it's important to remember that a universe in which anything can happen is a universe where anything is possible. It's the kind of place where a man can fly. What's it truly like to live in these universes? How do we cope with all that empty space and randomness? Next time we'll look at life in the universe and how exactly we're expected to deal with it. Until then,
don't panic! So long and thanks for all the fish. So sad that it should come to this. We try to warn you all, but oh dear, you may not share our intellect, which might explain.
For the ScapeCast, I'm Kimberly Thompson.
So long, so long, so long, so long, so long, and thanks for all the fish. God, I love that song.
I can tell. and I won't put our listeners through anything by me attempting to sing that. You do that much better than I. I'm just humming it in my head. Much safer for all the listeners.
I'm Wendy Hem Brach with the news. Brian Henson's episode for the anthology series Nightmares and Dreamscapes scored dream ratings for TNT. The commercial-free premiere of Brian's episode Battleground drew 5.2 million viewers on its Wednesday, July 14th premiere. About half the audience was adults 18 to 49, which is the demographic advertisers love. TNT said the 2.5 million 18 to 49ers who watched the debut of Battleground was the highest for a scripted series premiere on basic cable this year. Henson directed the episode about a hitman who gets revenged by toy soldiers, starring William Hurt, who had no dialogue. The murder victim was played by Bruce Spence, who played Prefect Follick in Farscape's A Prefect Murder. The episode featured Henson's deft touch with animated toy soldiers, stuffed toys, and trademark humor, and a fine performance by William Hurt. And more good news for Brian Henson. TBS has ordered the pilot for Henson's talk show Late Night Buffet. The late-night talk show features 2 puppet hosts, Augie and Del. No date yet on the premiere. Check out an interview of Ben Browder and Claudia Black talking from the set of Stargate SG-1. In the interview, Claudia says she watches The West Wing, American Idol, and Grey's Anatomy. Ben said he has to fight for the remote to watch NASCAR at home. Oh, and they also talk about working on those TV shows, Farscape and Stargate SG-1. Some other Farscape cast will be appearing on the big screen. Gigi Edgley has a role in the film Last Train to Frio. Gigi plays a posh law student who boards the last train to Fremantle, a suburb of Perth, Australia. The film was adapted from the successful play The Last Train. It's a thriller about 2 thugs who board a train and send the passengers on a tense and twisted ride seething with class prejudice and resentment. The balance of power turns, though, as each of the 5 characters discover who they really are. The film premieres at the New Zealand Film Festival on July 27th. Last Train to Frio will also be screened at the Australian Film Institute's Film Festival in Perth, Australia in August. Anthony Simcoe plays a corrupt policeman in the Australian film Solo. The film's director, Morgan O'Neill, won the Australian version of Project Greenlight to get the film funded. Solo has been well reviewed as a crime drama with a surprise or 2. And Anthony's band, Signal Room, that also features Wayne Pygram on drums, is doing some DIY self-publishing via cafepress.com. Since Farscape is an international phenomenon, Signal Room fans are scattered around the world. The band is using Cafe Press sales to fund their upcoming CD. Anthony says, quote, "It's great because it gives the people who like our music, no matter where they are, a way to directly participate in the process, and we can't thank them enough. This wouldn't work if we had to spend money on printing t-shirts and carrying inventory." Signal Room is also in negotiations with Creation Entertainment to play at the 2006 Farscape Burbank Convention as well. And now for the convention report. Timeless Destinations in Vancouver, British Columbia, July 31st to August 6th, will feature Gigi Edgley and David Franklin. There will also be a Farscape fan table, and look for Lindy, Nicola, and Sammy from the ScapeCast. Gen Con in Indianapolis, Indiana, August 10th through the 13th, will feature Gigi Edgley as a guest. Conversion in Calgary, Canada, August 11th through the 13th, will feature a Farscape fan table and sessions titled Hero's Journey and Leather Pants. At last week's Comic-Con, Lisa Henson rolled out drawings and mock-ups for Power of the Dark Crystal, a CGI puppet hybrid. The film is the follow-up to the 1982 film The Dark Crystal. Power of the Dark Crystal is slated for 2008 release. Henson also previewed footage of 2 TV series, The Late Night Buffet with puppets Augie and Del, and an edgy improv sketch series. Lisa Henson said, quote, "We know that the fans want Henson's puppets to continue. So I guess that's a good sign for Rigel and Pilot, since they're puppets, right?" And that's the news. I'm Wendy Hem Brach for the ScapeCast.
Well, I have to tell you that when Kim and I were at Comic-Con at the Henson panel, they did show a clip from Puppet Up, and it was hilarious. It was great. You got to see the puppeteers and the puppets, and they were doing improv, and I sure hope that that screening or show or pilot makes it to the TV, because it'd be fun to watch that show.
Yeah, they always, at things like the Comic-Con, those other big shows, they tend to really give you good teasers of things and get you excited for it, so I'm glad you got a chance to see that.
What is Farscape? Hi, it's Lauren, also known as Alanthea. To me, Farscape is relationships. On the one hand, it's an amazing show because of the interaction between the characters. On Farscape, actions have consequences, like when John wakes up in the Prowler after the Pentec jab and says, "You hit me!" Also, the relationships grow and change as the show goes, and no character finishes the story as they were when they began. Everyone is changed by their lives and each other. In the same way, Farscape has changed my life, and it's about relationships in real life. Before Farscape, I had participated in online communities before, but never before or since have I known the kind of caring and friendship I've found from fellow Scapers. Even though we've never met face-to-face, you care if my life is going well, and that's an amazing thing. Even more, Farscape is relationships for me in my everyday life. I've brought Farscape to many a friend, and it's brought us closer as we've shared the inside jokes and understanding that comes from the show, as well as the other shows I've picked up along the way. Buffy, Angel, Star Trek, and Stargate. The very best thing is that I met one of my best friends at a Farscape party my second or third week of college, an amazing person that I might never have met had John Crichton not gotten himself lost in a distant part of the galaxy.
Our next segment is entitled Junior Miss Tough Chick of the Universe by David Walls.
I'm hotter than you know.
She is the embodiment of the trickster, a boundary crosser. Tricksters question convention, and every race and culture needs one, for without them, entropy follows. Tricksters challenge the distinction between right and wrong, noble and profane, dishonesty and truth, and Chiana personifies all these contradictions. For her, anarchy is the more natural state. So much trouble in such a small package, like a stick of dynamite wrapped in a porcelain doll, Chiana is beauty with a bang. Rebelling against rules and regulations wherever she finds them, Chiana has been brought aboard Moya, a prisoner of her people, the Nabari, a grey-skinned race who value conformity above all else. The Nabari place anomalies like Chiana into control collars prior to the ultimate behavioral modification, mental cleansing, transformation into obedient zombies. Radical change agents, like Chiana, are the first targets of the system, as they are forced to conform to the social norms that they cannot recognize as legitimate. Chiana would do anything to avoid mental cleansing. It is so antithetical to her nature that she would rather die than live like that. But the trickster is not so easily defeated. Even tortured and imprisoned, Chiana schemes anew for a final desperate bid to regain her freedom. She's cuffed, she's collared, and she's behind bars. Yet routine administrations of punishment are not uncommon. Why do the Nabari see this young woman as so dangerous? She is alluring. She is not above using seduction to achieve her ends. She has many useful skills, most of which were acquired at the School of Hard Knocks. She is unpredictable, she is smart, and she will do whatever it takes to survive as a free person.
I stole food when I was hungry, jumped transport without voucher, defended myself when necessary.
Did you ever kill anyone?
I tell you I did.
I'm asking you.
No.
And she isn't always truthful. Her guilt vis-a-vis murder is irrelevant. Everything she says is suspect. Chiana is a thief, and when she decides that seducing Crichton is taking too long, she escapes from her cell. Twisting her cuffed hands underneath her, she picks the lock to her control collar, and just like that, the trickster passes a threshold, and disorder and chaos soon follow. Right on schedule, complications arise when Salas is murdered. The now free-thinking Durka seizes command of Moya, taking Aaron and Rigel hostage in the process. Crichton immediately recognizes that Chiana is the wild card in this scenario. With most of the crew captured, his best hope, his only hope, lies in convincing Chiana to lend a helping hand. But she is wary. Her lifestyle has not taught her to trust easily. However, she is a survivor, and realizes perhaps that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Although Crichton and Chiana's plan fails miserably in execution, through their following improvisation they are able to rid the ship of Durka. The status quo is now irrevocably altered, with the addition of one charming trickster, a fugitive like all the rest. In literature, the trickster is a restless figure drawn to the open road in all of its incarnations. A path and a fresh journey are all the trickster requires. True to type, Chiana spent most of her time on the run after she left Nabari Prime prior to her capture by Salas, and when she is offered the chance to join Moya, she saw a fresh journey before her. The ability to keep running, combined with the unpredictability of the destination, plus the freedom of leaving whenever she wants. But even this ideal situation requires an adjustment in lifestyle.
We have rules.
Yeah. Well, when I see any of you following them, so will I.
I'm easy. I owe you. The others will not be so forgiving.
Well, just drop me off the next planet, where there's something worth stealing.
This isn't a prison transport anymore, Chiana. You can get off whenever you want. One question. Where were you when Salas was murdered?
Chiana smiles in response, an ambiguous smile that only leaves us guessing. By not responding, the trickster leaves the answer uncertain, essentially allowing both possibilities to exist simultaneously, where she can maneuver back and forth between the two choices. It is here that the trickster holds all the cards, two probabilities with only one answer, an answer which is not forthcoming. Manipulating the situation allows her to gain power without doing or saying anything. Chiana has freed herself from the threat of the Nabari and now struggles to adapt to the rules on Moya. Is a trickster conforming? Perhaps. Perhaps not. This is a different situation than what the Nabari wanted from Chiana. This is her choice, and she intends to maintain her unique identity. Her soul insists on independence, and she truly is a rebel at heart, but she also needs to be around others due to her gregarious nature. She tackles problems that will give others pause, stopping to worry about details later. Chiana thrives by living in the moment, and is able to size up a situation with succinct clarity. Whether it is her deft thievery, quick wits, or raw sexuality, Chiana is ready for any and all situations. Well, on good days, anyway.
Listen, Sunshine, you want to be part of this crew?
On your good days.
This is one of the good days.
I thought you were Junior Miss Tough Chick of the Universe.
When I can kiss or kick or cry my way out of it. This is way, 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 way different.
Of all the crew, Chiana most easily befriends Rigel, since they are both tricksters at heart. An inability to keep their hands off the goods of others is a problem for the both of them, though neither sees the moral ambiguity therein. The trickster isn't ambivalent about her actions. She simply does what she wants. Like all good criminal teams, she and Rigel bicker about the specifics of whatever particular goods they plan to acquire and its value. To this unlikely duo, that's wondrous in its dichotomy.
You're here for the same reason I am. To see if there's anything inside worth snatching.
Snatch? I don't snatch. I procure.
Look, in the interest of not getting caught, I'll agree to half whatever we procure.
Half? I was here first.
But I have the key.
Oh, okay, half.
When Crichton prepares to infiltrate the Gammak base in order to save Aaron's life, everyone is opposed to the idea, except for Chiana. This puzzles Crichton because Chiana is still new to the crew, and although she has helped Crichton and the others, she is still the wild card. Why exactly does she want to go to the Peacekeeper base? What could she possibly be hiding, if anything, from the others that she could benefit from if she were to go with him? Troublemakers are either thrown out or invited into a group. If the trickster is to consider herself successful, then she can avoid both these fates and maintain her tenuous grip on the threshold of both categories. Her motives are dubious, even to Crichton.
What you need on this jaunt is a talented burglar and distraction causer.
You volunteering? What's the angle?
I want to earn my keep aboard this boat.
You? I don't think so.
At least take this. Peacekeeper ident chip. Maximum security clearance.
This is Laurence. How'd you get this?
Told you I was talented.
Jana continues to use her talents to help Crichton by distracting senior officers with her sexuality, stretching the canvas that is truth, setting off false alarm and stealing vessels, and yes, even killing. The trickster easily crosses back and forth between these borders that are real to others, but ethereal to her. She restores life to one and disrupts the other. Chiana also participated in the birth of the Leviathan Moya's offspring Talon, which was far from a simple task. Moya's child was too large to be birthed naturally, and Chiana recognized that the only successful solution was also the most radical. The agent of the threshold finds herself at the border of the magical realm between life and death, able to assist the passage of the unborn into the land of the living by helping perform as a midwife in an interstellar, interspecies birth. So where is Chiana at the end of Season 1? Chiana has now put herself in danger for Moya and her offspring, for Aaron, for John, in fact for all of them. She has earned her place on Moya, helping the crew escape from Starburst, in which Moya was stuck, helping Crichton get the tissue sample to save Aaron, helping to birth Moya's offspring. These are things that create ties with others, emotional ties that Chiana is learning to treasure. Resourceful, independent, insightful, full of the joy of life and the need for danger, Chiana is also learning to trust. Perhaps she is ready to cross one more threshold. Perhaps she considers Moya her home, and the crew her family.
I'm not your average girl, that's more to this. Oh, I'm hotter than you know. I'm indestructible. I've got this game on lock. I'm everything that you go
For the ScapeCast, I'm Nicola Wood.
You know, Lindy, before I had seen Farscape, several people who had couldn't stop talking about, certainly you've got all the hot folks in leather for the Ben and Claudia folks, but a couple of people I know were telling me that you definitely got to check out Chiana. So that just goes to show the full depth of the character there, along with the nice visual aspects as well.
Yeah, the guy thing about got to check out the hot chick in gray. Well, I love the name that John gives Chiana when he calls her the Junior Miss Tough Chick of the Universe. I also like that he calls her Pip.
Firepoint Media, in conjunction with DragonCon, America's largest multimedia popular arts convention, presents Podcasting Now and Beyond, a celebration of portable media programming bringing together the full spectrum of podcasters and their audience, from pros to first-timers. for a conference of information and entertainment. Join us for panels, seminars, workshops, and events culminating in the Parsec Awards, honoring podcasting excellence and speculative fiction. Visit our website at www.parsecawards.com to join us in podcasting history. Podcasting Now and Beyond, September 1st through 4th at the DragonCon Convention in Atlanta, Georgia. Your future to the power of beyond.
This just in, Captain Kurt Hogthrob has lost control of the swine trek due to an overabundance of port. Really, port. Or is that trim? Starboard? Now back to our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.
Our next segment is going to be our very first crew chat. Now, this will give all your listeners a chance to find out a little bit more about several members of the ScapeCast crew. You know, think of it as a virtual roundtable. We were just sitting around talking about a few different things in a very casual way. So, I mean, you hear Lindy and I a lot, naturally, but we wanted to give everybody a chance. There's some other great folks here to kind of step up to the mic so you get to hear them being themselves rather than in the recorded, scripted things that we do.
And the first part of our discussion is we introduce ourselves and say where we are, what we do, or anything that we think might be relevant for you listeners. And then we have a discussion about the question that we've asked all of our listeners, which is, what is Farscape? And it gets to be a pretty interesting discussion. We're going to go around the table, our virtual table, and we're going to find out who everybody is. And I'm going to say who goes so that there's no argument about it. Okay, gang? Okay, we'll start with Brent.
All right, that sounds good to me. Hello, everybody. I'm Brent Berry. I've been a Scaper since the beginning, so I guess I'm a Scaper ancient. I saw the show when it first premiered on USA Network, PK Tech Girl, before Sci-Fi Channel even showed premiere. A couple months after that, I put up the John and Aaron site, and I've been trying to participate in Scaperdom ever since, and I'm really pleased to be part of this whole ScapeCast thing.
And Brent, where are you from?
Oh, I'm from the Central Valley of California, Sacramento area.
And next, from the other end of our virtual table, we have Wendy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy Hem Brach. I'm in Fairport, New York, which is in upstate New York. I became a Scaper actually during the Farscape marathon that previewed right before the Peacekeeper Wars came out. Of course, we know there are no Peacekeeper Wars, so I was actually just watching blank television for a couple days.
Yeah, Peacekeeper, yeah.
So I guess I'm I guess I'm a tweener Farscape fan.
And next around the table, we have Kim.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Thompson. I'm from Downey, California, which is just about 10 miles east of Los Angeles. I'm born and raised here. I became a Scaper in January of 2006 due to the syndication deal with help from my Netflix account, which helped me see all the episodes in order. Happy to be here. This is my first time involved with anything podcasting, so far it's been a learning experience and a lot of fun.
Well, that's great. And next around our virtual table, we have to go a little further away to talk to Sammy.
Well, hi, I'm Sammy. I'm from Germany, from the other side of the globe. I've been a Scaper since Farscape first premiered here in Germany, which was 2001, I think. I've been involved in everything there was to get Farscape back on the air when it was canceled. That's basically it.
Sammy, when you watch Farscape in Germany, is it in German or in English?
Oh, yes, it's in German. It's dubbed in German.
Sammy, didn't you say that the woman they got to do Aaron was horrible?
Oh, yes. She used to voice one of the brats on Beverly Hills 90210, so whenever I watch Farscape, I kind of associated her with that. I think she also voiced Bart Simpson.
Oh, man.
Well, at least she's getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
And next around the table, we have Kurt.
Hi, I'm Kurt, and I'm from Calgary, Canada, and I've been here for about 8 years now, and I first got into Farscape when it first premiered in Canada on a channel called YTV.
Nicola, why don't you introduce yourself here at our table?
Okay. I'm Nicola Wood. I'm also from Canada, same province as Kurt, Alberta, and I became a Scaper the same way, not the YTV. The Space Channel in Canada started airing Farscape. I can't remember what year, and I caught a couple of shows, and I didn't catch whole shows. I
advertisements and such, and I never stopped to watch. And then a girlfriend of mine, I was trying to tell her to watch Buffy, and she said, I'll watch 4 episodes of Buffy if you watch 4 episodes of Farscape. And so I sat down, mad as all get out, because I didn't want to watch Farscape. I wanted her to watch Buffy. And with 4 episodes of Farscape, I started with Scratch and Sniff, and I sat there, and it was about a third of the way through. I think my eyes were the size of saucers, and I'm thinking to myself, I have no clue what's going on here, but I think I really like it. And I got so hooked on the show that I started, I took over the running of the Farscape Canada website, which is pretty good because I had never run a website before in my life. I barely even knew what they were. And then all of a sudden I was running it. And then I joined, well, it's the same thing with a podcast. I had no idea what a podcast was, but I joined it. So here I am, learning as I go.
So, Kevin,
Lindy.
Introduce yourself. Want to say something?
Well, I don't want to bore folks too much if they've heard the previous podcast because I covered my story, but I'll give you the quick one again. I'm the newbie of the group and of many Scapers since I've only been deep into the show for 4 or 5 months or so. Just came upon it on DVD several months ago. I'm located up in the Boston area, just south of Boston myself, and just absolutely engrossed and, had to dive in with both feet into the show and everything else that's going on.
And just to let you know, this is Lindy again, and I live in Silicon Gulch in California, and I've been a Scaper since '99. I was right there in front of my TV waiting for the Muppets and the Blue Girl, and I've been hooked ever since. This is my first podcast, too, and it's a pretty fun thing to do. Right, gang?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right, Lindy?
Laugh now?
Oh, yeah.
So now that we've gone around the virtual table, it just gives you a chance to at least hear the voice and know the name. Want to talk a little bit more about that fun topic, Lindy?
Yes.
What is Farscape?
What is Farscape?
You did such a great job going around the table. Why don't we let you do that again?
I'll even go first here, because I have an answer for what is Farscape, and it's very short. For me, Farscape is a fantastic story. It's told by very unlikely characters. It's always a surprise, even when you rewatch it. It's not a story that you can watch at arm's length. I can identify with the characters and their dilemmas and their joys and their sorrows. It's done by the Hensons, but it's not a children's story. It's a love story, it's science, it's fun, and for me, it's the standard by which all other stories are measured in my world. Farscape is my passion. Brent?
Well written, Lindy, well written. I mean, well spoken, Lindy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
spontaneous,
I was going to say though, that
She was practicing.
Farscape has become the standard by which I measure all other TV on, and almost everything.
Yes.
Well, no, everything falls short. It does. Okay, so Lindy's answered the question. What are we going to talk about now?
Okay, we could just move on.
Well, just let the rest of us off the hook, okay.
I pick Lindy's answer.
Listen, I was in the shower this morning, and I was thinking about that I was going to have to answer the question, and I ran out of the shower soaking wet with the towel wrapped around me, sitting in front of my computer, writing it down so I wouldn't forget it.
Lindy, who are you going to pick to go next?
Let's see. I'm going to work backwards. So next would be Nicola. Hey, you know what? Nicola, you told me that you've been rehearsing too. Tell us what you've rehearsed.
Yes, I don't want to anymore. It's nowhere near as good at what you came out with.
I missed the whole memo about writing this up ahead of time.
The only reason I wrote it up ahead of time was because Nicola said she was practicing all day on Sunday, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I gotta be as good as Nicola."
Okay, what is Farscape? What is Farscape to me? Well, I was thinking about this, and I was, churning all these ideas, and its lights and sounds and colors and visuals and emotion and layers and layers and layers of meaning and humor and angst all at the same time in the same moment. You don't get that very often. I was thinking about there's only a few movies actually that have hit that one for me, and one of them funnily enough, is Farscape pays an homage to Casablanca. And the one line that really resonates for me in Casablanca that I think applies to Farscape is Rick's line when he's saying goodbye to Ilsa. And he says, "I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world." And to me, that's Farscape. Our little group of prisoners, their problems don't really matter in the universe, but they matter to us because we're watching them. We care about them. And they're not particularly noble people, but they are terribly human.
The good part is we get to do that every podcast.
Do what?
Answer
the question?
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're doing every show. We're answering that show, aren't we, to a certain degree, every time we do a segment in a show?
Okay.
You know, that's really what it comes down to me.
Right over our heads, Kevin. Right over our heads.
There it went. So, Nicola, do you think, there...
I'll shut up now.
Kevin's so deep.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just got out of the shower, so it hit me.
Oh no, not me. Okay, what is Farscape to me? Well, I'm a talker, not a writer, so I had to borrow this from somewhere else. So what I do is I talk, and I read what other people write. And sometimes I put my own spin on it, but I basically say what other people write. So when I have been thinking all week about what is Farscape to me, Farscape is everything. It's action, it's adventure, it's love, it's drama, it's everything. But I'm going to read a little blurb of something. It has to apply to a book and a film I totally love. And I happen to have just read this book recently, so I'm just going to read this piece. And I know the movie junkies and the people that read fiction quite a bit are going to get this. But this is pretty much what Farscape is to me. Here's a story with everything. Fencing, fighting, torture, poison, true love, hate, revenge, giants, hunters, bad men, good men, beautifulest ladies, snakes, spiders, beasts of all natures and descriptions, pain, death, brave men, coward men, strongest men, chases, escapes, lies, truths, passion, miracles. That's Farscape to me. Anybody get that? What that's from?
Have fun storming the castle.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
Farscape is the Princess Bride.
Father.
Yep. That's
Prepare to die.
My
too.
father prepared to die.
That's
Wow,
you kill my
none of it
father.
I haven't
Prepare
seen.
to die.
Well,
Yeah,
that's great.
This has been haunting me
And
all
next,
week. I've
Brent?
been thinking about this. This is all week. This same paragraph comes to me. I couldn't escape it, so that's it.
Brent, you're inconceivable.
What is Farscape?
What
is
is
that what you're asking me?
You keep on using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
You asking
Yes.
me what is Farscape? The answer is really simple. Farscape is the coolest show ever made. Period.
Okay, I completely agree.
I like Brent's answer. I'll go with that one.
Wendy?
Oh, okay. To me, Farscape is Star Wars The Next Generation because it has the grand scale and the heroic themes and sort of the whole universe is at stake the way that the original Star Wars is. I'm not going to talk about those last three. But it's The Next Generation because it actually, like Star Trek The Next Generation, I think the acting... I like to think the acting is more Patrick Stewart than it was William Shatner in terms of the Farscape acting. But also, it takes what we know about sci-fi in the past and also other films, but sci-fi as well, and it recognizes that the audience brings all of that history and context when they're watching the show, which is what I think of as the layers of meaning. So you can watch the story, but they're also acknowledging that they're taking stories that we already know and subverting them a little bit, tweaking them, and making them Farscape compared to what they were when we first saw them. So that's what I think that Farscape is. It's subversive and it's contextualized at the same time. And I agree with Nicola that a big part of why Farscape really grabs people is the characters, because I don't think there's any sort of human character in outer space that's been so much like a real person. You know, what Crichton does is very believable that other people do that. He's very flawed, and I think people can empathize with him a lot.
You know, I was
because of
thinking
that.
the episode, talking about the next generation, I don't know the name of the episode, the one where Picard goes unconscious and he goes and he lives his life on that planet. Yeah, doesn't that remind you? The
probe
shows
shows
remind
up,
you of the
yeah.
locket? So, Kurt, did we talk to you yet? I didn't
No,
think
we
so.
haven't talked to me yet. What is Farscape? Yeah, what is Farscape? I put a lot of thought into it, and not as much as Nicola and Lindy, obviously. But even after all this thinking, it's undefinable to me. I just can't put it into words. I can best describe it as the feeling I had when I saw a premiere for the first time, which was coincidentally the premiere of Farscape in Canada. It was just flipping the channels, and then on YTV there's a shot of the space shuttle, and going, well, what's that doing on YTV? And it caught me right from there. And I think the moment that really blew me away was actually as soon as they got him on board Moya, and you look up and you see old One Eye sitting there on the cockpit. I'm going, what the hell is that?
Sammy.
Okay, what is Farscape to me? In a way, it's reality. Because actions have consequences, and Farscape to me was the first show that actually showed the consequences to the action. And they never shied away for even showing the worst consequences that could happen, and that's what I like about Farscape.
Or reality as far as science
reality.
fiction goes.
Yeah, but what I liked about Farscape is if you watch a TV show nowadays, people do stuff and it never has any consequences for them. But if you watch all that, say, you see all these consequences that John's actions had for him. I mean, I've never seen it in any other show that it was the way they showed it on Farscape.
Kevin?
Oh, little old me. I could go on for hours, and I don't have a nice prepared item like several crew members did. I missed the assignment here. I'm going to be the kid in the back of the room going, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. Aside from the great points everyone's made, both here on the crew call and the other stuff we've got from listeners, the things that come back to me on the meaning of it is the emotion and how it attaches itself, the show and the characters to you. I mean, we all know in different entertainment, music, TVs, movies, whatever, there are things that are, quote, good. Everyone says this show is good or this band is good or whatever. But it's not that it's good. It's that it means something to you. And at least from my perspective on things, that usually means that emotionally it gets me connected, engaged, whatever phrase you like to use. So that's part of where this show did that. It got me thinking early on in terms of seeing some of those things like we discussed, the DNA mad scientist, but it also got me caring about the characters. And once that happens, that's where the what is Farscape, it becomes a part of your life. And as I said a little earlier in the call, I kind of think of the fact that on the podcast, when we have articles or discussions or whatever, we are answering that question, what is Farscape, all the time, because it's different things to different people. You can put together a nice description, which is excellent, but I think myself at least more emotionally and say, yes, that's what it is to that person. Or this show, when we review or talk about Dargo, that's what it is. It's the fact that it can be so many different things, and not all shows can be. And even good shows. It's not the same thing every week or every season. It changed drastically. Some people said they preferred this season over that season or whatever. That's the great part, is it changed all the time. It took those paths and went in many different directions. Even some of the meanings of certain episodes were taken differently by different people. That's tremendous. You don't see that or find that. It's just very, very special to have that happen. And it's also a part of the whole purpose for the podcast, or even this call. What is Farscape is this. It's a group of people, like we mentioned tonight, with the exception of maybe a couple of them, Kurt or Nicola, who didn't know anybody. We didn't know each other, several months ago. And now we're all sitting here as friends talking about this. So it's a community that cares about a show and also makes friendships very easily. So I know we all think it's a great show and can certainly enjoy it watching it on our own, but would it be anywhere near as good if we didn't have the forums and the podcast to be able to share it with everyone? So the What is Farscape is very much, it's a community.
Hey, wait, I got a couple of questions. A couple of 1,000 more questions.
Question of the week.
Lindy, this week's question is, what was the key scene or episode that got you hooked on Farscape?
Portkey on the ScapeCast forum answers, the episode that got me hooked was A Human Reaction, because that was the first episode that I ever watched. I remember watching it and thinking it was different than a lot of science fiction shows that I had seen. I loved the interaction between John and Jack, and it seemed like a real relationship between a father and son. I also loved John and Aaron from the beginning, and thought their chemistry was just amazing. After the fantastically surprising ending, I knew that I had to start watching this show. Oddly enough, this was just a few months ago, as I started watching the show in syndication.
MD Latham posts, I hate to admit this, but my first episode was Peacekeeper Wars. I actually watched the first 30 minutes and was blown away, so I stopped and found a copy of Premiere. I watched it several times and was hooked. I sold my PSP to get the money to buy all 4 seasons on eBay, and I've been hooked ever since. Thanks.
Kara from New Mexico answers, it was probably the fact that I'd heard lots about Farscape and nothing negative ever, but mostly it's the actor's fault. I'd recently seen Claudia Black in the movie Pitch Black and thought she did well in that. I'd heard of Ben Browder but hadn't seen any of his work too. That drew me in, as did the apparent John and Aaron romance. It was just so rich in the characters and their stories. It seemed that the writers really knew what they were doing with everyone and who they wanted everyone to be. I only watched the first 10 minutes of Peacekeeper Wars, since I thought it'd be better to just get the whole series from Netflix and then see the mini. I'm up to the end of Season 2 right now, and the last thing I saw was A Clockwork Nabari. I'm glad I've seen it now. There's just so much that's interesting in it. The pilot connected to the ship, which is also alive, is especially awesome. I'm completely obsessed now. My hermit crab is named Crichton.
Jersey Girl wrote, the first episode I ever saw was Taking the Stone. There are a number of scenes that stood out for different reasons. I remember watching Rigel have his problems with the haunted treasure and thinking, oh no, is he the comic relief of the show? That's kind of cliché. Fortunately, as we know, that turned out not to be true. Another thing about it was that I started watching about a third of the way into the episode when they were already down on the planet. So I didn't understand the reason they were there, or the relationship between John, Aaron, and Tiana. Basically, I was pretty confused, but I knew this show was something special. I guess the scene that I was most struck with was Tiana's jump at the end. I don't know why. I guess after all the strangeness that had gone on, it was really a very upbeat and even sweet ending. But I can't say that any one scene got me hooked. It was the combination of complete weirdness and really complex characters that sealed the deal for me. By the end of the episode, I had been scaped.
Jarek writes, I would love to say that I was hooked from the first episode of the first season, but alas, I missed it. And then I went on to forget about the show, so my first Farscape experience was actually episode 3, and I switched it off after a few minutes due to their poor fighting and alien prosthetics. I dipped back in with episode 6, thank God it's Friday again, while channel surfing, and then I switched it off again after Rigel was seen to be laying down suppression fire through his various bodily fluids. And that did it for me for the first season of Farscape. So now that you understand my lack of interest in the show, you may more appreciate how much of an effect a single shot from Mind the Baby had on me, and how much of my love of the show is thanks to a simple stroke of luck. I had settled down to watch the kart race from Texas, only to find it had been cancelled at the last minute. And while channel surfing, I came to the UK Sci-Fi channel, and it was showing an asteroid field with the most beautiful starship serenely hanging in space. It was that shot alone which kept my finger off the remote, and I went on to watch all of Season 2 on the Sci-Fi channel while recording Season 3 on the BBC. And then I bought the Season 1 box set, and then of course, Season 4 and the PK Wars. One visual effect won me over. It's that simple.
Foppyvic on the ScapeCast forum replies, the first episode I've seen was Jeremiah Crichton, and I thought, strange. Really strange new series. I can't remember why I've watched it the next week. Maybe out of curiosity? But the next episode was Durka Returns, and I got hooked. Please don't ask me why this episode, because I have no idea. Watching it now, I still consider it one of the best episodes of the first season, but I don't really know why it fascinated me as much. I mean, there are puppets who got tortured, and people shouting at each other and betraying each other, and maybe that's the reason why I consider it the best TV show. People actually make decisions which affect their lives, even if it's in a bad way most of the time.
Well, the first episode I ever saw was Through the Looking Glass. That shot of John sliding down a tunnel, laughing his ass off, and a big yellow flash. All I thought was odd. Very odd. What convinced me to watch more was PK Tech Girl. Actually, I saw The Flax first, then PK Tech Girl. Those two episodes turned me over to Farscape. To this day, I insist John and Jelena should have been the original Farscape couple. But those just urged me to watch more. Then I saw Die Dichotomy. Farscape then proved to me that it was the most emotional show I'd ever seen. I didn't cry, but there was definite welling. With John taking over, I shivered as he pressed his forehead against Erin's and then licked her. It's not just that these are great plot points, but they carried with them the emotion of the show, and the episode in particular, with themes of love, loss, commitment, fear, death, greed, and of course a pinch of comedy. This particular ep had me hooked on Farscape. Gravel Rangered, from Dublin with thanks to Phased Out.
Kat on the ScapeCast forum writes, "Hi, my name is Kat and I'm a West Aussie scaper. I've been watching Farscape since it first aired in Australia. Yes, it is safe to say that I was, and still am, a loyal scaper, even if it meant living off episode transcripts. Damn Australian free-to-air networks. Grr. Anyway, I watched Farscape right from the first episode and thought it was pretty awesome. It was different and original, something I had never seen before on primetime TV. But what really made me sit up and think, wow, this is something really special, was the episode Exodus from Genesis. What really stayed with me was Erin's line, "A friend would do this for me. Family would do it swiftly." Her situation really made me think about depth of those words, and it amazed me how much her character grew just in that one episode, how much of her tough outer shell had been worn away, and yet there was still so much she was holding on to. Seeing how determined John was to save her and how vulnerable Erin was really touched me, and it was the first time any TV show had managed to make me teary. I absolutely loved the final scene with John and Erin. There was so much chemistry between them, and so much was said in the silences. It really showed off the high caliber of the actors and the quality of the story itself. How could I not keep watching? From then on, I've been a huge John and Erin shipper and a devout viewer. Even through all of the stoppages, reschedulings, and late-night airings, if any at all, we Australian fans have had to endure. All I can say is thank the goddess for the DVDs. Your show is awesome. Keep up the good work, guys. Ciao.
Hi, this is Lauren from Philadelphia, also known as Alanthea on the boards. The scene that got me hooked was the first one I ever saw from The Hidden Memory. My dad was watching. He watched Farscape from the beginning. It was the one where Chiana and Rigel are trapped together in the little pod while Moya's atmosphere vents as Talon is being born. I didn't really understand what was going on, and my boyfriend rushed me out the door before I could figure it out, but it intrigued me so much that I looked out for the show more, even though it was Die Dichotomy before I became a true scaper who couldn't miss an episode.
My immediate reaction to this week's question was that it must have been Ben Browder's Baby Blues. But really, no. Although they certainly helped keep my interest. Actually, it was Claudia Black. I didn't see Farscape upon first airing. At the time, I saw a teaser go by on the Sci-Fi channel and thought, Muppets in Space sounds dumb. But I did watch Stargate SG-1, except last year that was starting to get dull with the departure of its star. Browder had joined the cast, but he didn't stand out yet. Then Claudia Black guest starred and lit up the TV screen. So I followed her to Farscape. Started out by TiVoing a few episodes in syndication. They were out of order and made almost no sense. I noticed the premiere was airing and made sure to record that. I think the premiere episode often gets sidelined by the many amazing episodes to follow, yet it is very well crafted in that it set up the premise, gave us all the exposition, and succinctly introduced each major character. For good examples, remember Zan's chief anarchist line, and of course the premiere gives us Erin straddling John's face. That might be one of the best introductions to a character, and to a sci-fi show, ever. Loving the ScapeCast. Sandy in Port Chester, New York.
Hi, this is Kim from the ScapeCast. And the scene or episode that got me hooked on Farscape, I'm going to pick one answer this time, and I'm going to stick to it. It has to be the locket. I had been watching the Season 1 DVDs in order, and I was about halfway through, and I was watching the Season 2 episodes out of order via the syndication deal, and the locket came on. Now, at that time, I had an inkling of what was going on, but not the full depth. But once the locket came on, and you see the scene about 3/4 of the way through, when Erin has died of old age, over 200 cycles old, John brings her back, and he finally realizes he gets that locket, and he knows that there's the picture of Erin's love of her life in that locket, and he opens it up, and he finally realizes that it's him, and that she's loved him all this time, and he totally breaks down. And look, I'm getting misty here. I get weepy every time I watch that. It just grabs me every time I see it. Now, if a show is going to do that, turn me into a sobbing little girl, that show's a keeper. So, yeah, it's the locket. I love the locket.
Question of the week.
Wow, that was a really good question. We got a lot of great responses to this one.
Our next question is, what episode do you love to watch over and over again, and why? Send us your reply the usual way.
Welcome back. Earlier I asked you how many Nabari we've seen on Farscape. Including Chiana, we've seen a total of 8 Nabari. The first is Chiana, of course, and in her introduction we also saw Salas, her captor. Then there were Varla, Milak, and Chiana's brother Neri in Season 2's A Clockwork Nabari. In Season 3's Fractures, Chiana met Hubero. And finally, Season 4 gave us a glimpse of Chi-Erin, the Nabari played by Claudia Black.
Hey! I thought you said there were 8! That's only 7!
Well, as with a lot of these questions, this one's got a trick answer. Let's not forget that we did see Chiana and her twin on screen at the same time in Eat Me. So there's your 8th Nabari. For the ScapeCast, I'm Brent Berry.
This episode has been brought to you by the words Hammond and Treblin.
Oh, my head hurts. I'm going to my quarters to watch the baseball game.
That sounds interesting. Who's on first?
Well, I want to say thank you to Kelly Morris for starting the Hitchhiker's Guide series. It was a great segment, and I can't wait to hear part 2.
Yep. Thanks also to David, our walls on the message boards, for the excellent Chiana segment.
And didn't you just love pigs in space?
Yes, I'm still laughing, even hearing it in the back of my head, more than you singing the fish song.
Oh yeah, just block that part out. And I'm going to be traveling for the next few weeks, and so I'm not going to be available to record the next episode of the ScapeCast, so we're going to have a special guest host with Kevin. Our own Kimberly Thompson will be subbing for me. Now, Kim, there's going to be none of that All About Eve thing, though. Okay? You got me?
Now, do you want to tell the folks why you're not going to be on that show with me, Lindy?
Oh, well, I'm going to be at Timeless Destinations with Nicola Wood and Sammy Moore as part of my travels to the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. So I'm really looking forward to meeting them in person and meeting Scapers in person. So please come up and speak into my microphone.
And don't forget, folks, too, whether it's at the con or just sitting at home or in your car on your iPod or whatever, listening to the show, we still want to get some more answers to the What is Farscape in your own voice. Myself and many other listeners have mentioned in emails that they want to hear that, too. So no slacking off. If you haven't done it yet, we want to hear from you.
So thanks again for joining us as we continue our journey. I'm Lindy.
And I'm Kevin. And now it's time to disable your comms and find new wonders. Until next time.
This is John Crichton. Somewhere in the universe.
You've been listening to the ScapeCast, Episode 8, produced July 2006. Writers for this episode were Lindy Ray, Kevin Batchelder, Nicola Wood, Brent Barrett, Kelly Morris, Wendy Hem Brach, David Walls, and Kurt Armbruster. This episode featured voice performances by
Lindy Ray,
Kevin Batchelder,
Brent Barrett,
Kurt Armbruster,
Kimberly Thompson,
Wendy Hem Brach,
Nicola Wood,
Sammy Moore.
Now I just don't know!
For the entire ScapeCast crew, I'm Brent Barrett. Thank you for listening and fly safe.